across the crowd?
I don't know. I think it's. I could be wrong. I don't think so. I think it's.
That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe it's
The very purple clothes.
yeah, maybe it's like new staff affirmation.
Could be. Actually, got to grab one of those.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes for July 22nd, 2025. moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then approval of agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Alright. Recognition of the public, we do have some, but they are at the end for non-agenda items, so we'll jump into the reports and start with Dr. Meekin.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle. I'll hand over to Mrs. Sedman to get us started tonight with the introduction of new staff.
Thank you, everyone. We do have several new staff to present, so I'm going to start out though by talking about our newest addition to the administration team, and that would be at the high school.
So I'm here representing the high school and proud to announce that, first of all, Mr. Walker leaving us, I'm proud of that, but happy for him because he has earned an opportunity to take the skills that he has and the knowledge he has and to impact beyond high school across our district, which I think he will do a great job doing. Replacing him with one of our in-house people, an English teacher, Mr. Andrioli. I was part of the hiring process with Mr. Andrioli 10 years ago. He has been at the high school as an English teacher. I know one of our new elementary teachers that will be introduced later had him as a teacher and can speak to what I'm about to share. Just being just an excellent teacher, student-centered. I would say one of the best I've been around with curriculum, instruction, assessment, all things that will not only just have benefited our English department, but he will use those strengths to help impact across our high school. He has been leaned upon to be welcoming our new teachers as a lead mentor teacher, and now lean on him for professional development across the high school and all those areas. And so we're just very excited to have him. It's just such a neat process seeing the internal movement, having good people, keeping them, just putting them in position to be successful and to have even a greater impact than what they're having currently, in speaking about both Mr. Walker and Mr. Andrioli. So glad to answer any other questions, but that's what we're excited to be moving in that direction here in the next few weeks for that transition to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And Mike, do you want to stand up?
Sure,
for
yeah.
So, next we have, now Caitlin Blockman could not be here with us today, but we do have Mr. David Burrell. He's going to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, Katie's coming to us. She has over 12 years of experience, mainly with the IU. She was an autism teacher out at South Mountain, so she is very familiar with Northern New York County School District. And then she became a PCBA for the IU. And we were fortunate enough when Karen Schmick handed in her retirement notice, we went out and made contact with Caitlin, and she went through the interview process, and we were extremely happy to have her come on board. She got her bachelor's at Lebanon Valley, and she's a reading specialist via her master's degree. So super excited to have her. She'll be utilized throughout the district, and I just saw her today out at Wellsville, and she's doing a tremendous job. So we're glad to have her. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. So next on the list, we have our team of middle school folks. So this evening, if you want to stand up, Ken, we have Kenneth Axelson. And I have to say, because Troy could not be here this evening, he did prepare me with a proper introduction, so bear with me here. Troy wanted to let everybody know that Ken rose to the top of a very highly competitive interview group. In his final round interview, he taught a lesson to students in the building, and he absolutely came alive and connected effortlessly with students. In his first few days, he continues to demonstrate the ability to connect with students and engage them in learning. I will tell you that Ken received his bachelor's in education from Lancaster Bible College, and he was most recently at Harrisburg Christian School, where he taught 6th grade social studies and science. So, welcome. Next, we have Stacy Moss. So again, Troy wanted to share with everyone that Stacy is a veteran teacher who has joined the 7P team seamlessly. She is certified to teach a wide variety of subjects and brings a depth of knowledge and understanding to a reading class. At her previous school, she was known for advocating for her students, supporting her colleagues, and getting involved with activities and organizations outside her classroom to better the school. She has already shown these same attributes at Northern Middle School, so thank you. I will tell you that she has received her Bachelor's of Science in Education and Social Studies with a minor in Psychology from Bloomsburg and a Master's in Educational Development and Instructional Strategies from Wilkes University. So welcome, Steve. And last at the middle school, we have Denise Pearson. So Denise is our learning support teacher. Troy wanted you to know that she joins the special services team as a 7th grade learning support teacher with the 7P team. She is polished and has already developed positive relationships with her colleagues and students. At her previous employer, she held leadership roles and has shown the uncanny ability to be a strong leader while also being willing to follow. She comes from an athletic background. She scored 1,000 points in basketball in high school. And we have already seen a tireless work ethic and a mindset that appreciates a challenge. Denise received her bachelor's degree in elementary education from Susquehanna University, her master's in special education as a reading specialist from Shippensburg, as well as her ESL certification from Penn State, Harrisburg. So welcome. Thank you. And then finally, we have our team from South Mountain. I will turn it over to Mrs. Janasco.
Christy Janasco, principal at South Mountain, and I'm very proud to introduce 4 staff members this evening. I'm going to start with Hannah Barshinger. She joins our 3rd grade team. Hannah is also joining us from Harrisburg Christian School. She was there teaching 3rd grade for the past several years. She is a graduate from Millersville University, and a personal connection, which we didn't even know until after she was hired. Her sister-in-law is my former student teacher. I only ever had one student teacher. She was amazing. And Hannah's sister-in-law. Crazy world. Thank you, Hannah. Haley Hossman, 2nd grade teacher at South Mountain. She is a Northern grad, proud Northern grad. She recently graduated from Penn State, and she was a substitute in our district for the past 2 years, and she was at South Mountain a lot. I was actually talking with a parent a couple weeks ago who saw my newsletter that Ms. Hossman was hired, and she said, "Oh, you know, my son said she was his favorite substitute teacher," so we're so happy to have Ms. Hossman. Thank you. We have Josh Wegener, 1st grade, who is no stranger to Northern. He was at Northern Elementary last year as a 3rd grade teacher, and we've just taken him under our wing here at South Mountain in 1st grade. We're just so happy to have him with us. He's a Bloomsburg grad, and he's just having a great year so far. Thank you, Josh. And then we have Angela Small, 4th grade at South Mountain, and Angela is no stranger to South Mountain. She's a Northern grad, actually. Her kids they both used to go to South Mountain. Now one's at the middle school, one's still in South Mountain in 5th grade. Angela was a paraprofessional at South Mountain for the last 2 years. She was also a discovery teacher a few years ago at 2 of our elementary schools. And we are just so happy to have Angela with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne, and welcome to our new staff members. For the superintendent's report tonight, I want to speak about the strategic plan, the work that you will see coming this year. Okay, so strategic planning is one of my goals. I chose it because it's an area that's due for some attention. I just wanted to remind the board that when we talk about systematic planning, we're talking about the strategic plan together with the comprehensive plan, and those things together help to produce positive organizational outcomes. So the strategic plan and the comprehensive plan work hand in hand. The difference between the two is that the comprehensive plan is very broad. It has multiple components, all kinds of different reports, It's driven by the state, so it's driven by statute and by compliance. It reflects the general principles of the strategic plan, and it establishes checkpoints for it. It's mandated that we do this by the state for every 3 years. It's mandated that we do that. What we'll be working on this year is the strategic plan. And the strategic plan is more local, and it focuses on our mission and our vision, and defines really the core values of what we do every day. It identifies principles that are central to the decision-making process in the school district. And it produces things that we can work on right now, in the here and now, some goals and some actions, again, that you see sort of day to day. It helps guide the comprehensive plan. It's suggested that we do it every 6 years. But the last iteration of the strategic plan was done it was published in 2022, but a lot of work was done in 2021. So although it's not 6 years, there's been a number of changes in leadership positions from the board on down. And I think it's important that the strategic plan reflects the values of the current administrative team, including the board. So I'd like to get a new chance for people to get their voices involved in that planning process. The strategic plan is important because there are lots of different systems within a school district that all work together. This is an example of some of the systems that we hear, and there's a lot of interplay. So, for example, we might have noticed that in one particular building, let's say we have a pretty large second grade, let's say that. So we keep an eye on that. The teachers let us know, and then we say, okay, that's an academic concern, so it's part of the academic system, but if we want to add another teacher to help with that, then it also becomes a part of the financial system, and that there's a budgetary process that we have to go through. If we decide that we are hiring an extra teacher, then it's going to affect technology, because then we need to make sure that person has the resources, and it also affects facilities, and then we need to make sure that they have a room that we can move them into. So lots of different decisions that we make transpose or go through a lot of different types of systems within the organization. And the strategic plan helps you to make decisions across systems. So that's why it's good to be clear and up to date with the strategic plan. So a recent past, a brief history for your consultation. We saw this slide already. This is the strategic plan. You'll see it around the district. Last time we did it, we ended up with 4 target areas: academics, safety and well-being, community outreach, and operational excellence. And so we also coined the phrase to become, belong, and be northern. The plan itself was split up after target areas into priority statements and then strategies. And those strategies have really driven goal setting throughout the district for the last few years. They've affected board level decisions, and they are certainly referred to when central administration thinks about what needs to be accomplished in the school district this coming year. Those things are then transmitted to the principals, who think about the building in context and say, okay, what goals do we have for our building that fit within that realm that will help us to move forward? And so the document itself has been living, it's been breathing, and it's helped Northern progress in a way that's progressive in terms of it being incremental. And it's time for a revamp. So my suggestion will be that this process that we're going to go through is not to throw out everything and start again, because there's a lot of good things going, but to look for areas where there might be redundancy, where we can be more efficient, or areas that there's gaps that we need to fill, or areas where the context has changed and we need to rethink our strategy. If we think of the strategic plan and the process in terms of the cycle of achievement, which is a continuous cycle, I would definitely say we've completed research and we planned, we've implemented, and we've monitored. And now we're at the stage where we need to evaluate where we are, look at what revisions need to be made, and see if we can realize the vision that we have. So we'll be coming in with quite a bit of work done. My plan is to engage different stakeholder groups as we look for information to have considerations about the direction of the plan, and those are listed there. Will include school board members, admin, teachers, support staff, students, and parents and community. It's not easy to engage all those groups equally. So what we'll do is we'll look at some different strategies. These are examples. We'll have a board retreat, and then we'll have different meetings in the district level, the building level. We'll look to establish some parent and community roundtables. We'll do surveys, and we'll also look at some data reviews. So those things will help us drive together. And the end goal will be that we'll have a strategic plan which provides all members of the community, beginning at the school board level, with success. And this plan will include the metrics, the mechanics of measurement, accountability, to ensure that we have incremental progress and the human and fiscal resources to reach our goals. And the timeline for that would be to present a new and improved strategic plan to the board by the end of the school year sometime around May. So thank you. I'll take any questions on the strategic plan presentation. And hearing none, that would conclude the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I know that took a lot of work, so I'm excited to see what that turns out to be. All right, student liaison and Ms. Hubbard.
Hi, so I am returning from last year, but I just wanted to do another intro. I'm a senior at Northern now. I mountain bike, play rugby, ski race, and wrestle. I also enjoy art and reading. At the school, I'm involved with the Minithon and student council. So this week is our first week of school. It's the second day of school today, and from what I've seen, it's going very well. We are implementing a new flex schedule to try to help clubs meet 2 times a month. And last Friday was our first home football game, which was Splatterfest. And throughout the fall, you can look for more football, soccer, girls tennis, field hockey, volleyball, cross country, and golf games / meets. And I apologize if I missed any of the sports, but that's all I have.
So thank you very much. I drove by South Mountain on the first day of school and saw the banners up and it looked awesome, so it's going well. All right, nothing on intermunicipal CAIU, Mr. Schwilling.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle. We have our meeting this Thursday, but I looked at the agenda for Thursday, and the IU is very concerned about the Blackville state budget. So we're going to spend a lot of time on Thursday talking about how that organization is going to be able to continue to provide services for state funding. So that will be the focus of our talks on Thursday, and I'll report forward that next week.
Awesome, thank you very much. And Cumberland Perry, Mr. Weir is in Brazil on a missions trip, so did he give you anything? No, okay.
There's a superintendent's meeting next week, which is different than the meeting that Mr. Wade goes to, but I'll be in attendance. I'll bring back any information to the board.
Awesome, thank you very much. And Polar Bear, Ms. Renee is also out, so go through that, and I guess now the feasibility study.
Yes, I'd like to introduce Crabtree Rovar Associates. Jeff Strong is here to lead us through the presentation. I see Dr. Willem is here also. So over to you, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Meehan. Tonight we're going to give sort of an overview, and a lot of this is about setting up the framework as the study proceeds. We've actually done a few months, even through the holidays with it, or with the summer vacation. We've still been producing and sort of doing our homework behind the scenes, and we're going to start some of that information presentation to you this evening. So with that, we're going to first focus on a schedule, and we're going to actually come full circle after we go through all the slides and come back to this for Q&A. So sort of provide that information first. But one one of the things that the administration challenged us with was just, even in the interview process, we talked a lot about schedule, whether it's we heard everything from a broad breadth of 2 to 5 year process. So could we hone down and really what did we believe was a proper amount of time to go through both the feasibility study as well as the design project, and then potential construction, just so that we have a benchmark for everybody to discuss at this meeting and the process. So what you're seeing up on the screen is, starting off, we're really looking at sort of 2 tracks, track 1 and 2. One is focused on the district-wide feasibility study, and the other is more focused on the middle school and the SLC option development and developing preliminary schematic designs for presentation for all of you and the selection of the direction that you would eventually go. Even though I think just in the last week or 2 you've approved a contract, we've actually sort of hit the ground running for the last 2 months, doing both building surveys, meetings with administration, more focused meetings specifically with the middle school principal, which has allowed us to understand how your facilities are being utilized right now throughout the district, also at the middle school, and then starting to develop a program to present to all of you. What we tentatively are looking at is roughly about wrapping both of the track 1 for the district-wide study, as well as the middle school SLC component up in the November time period. And then the goal is, and what we're highlighting in orange is sort of, even though we'll be repeatedly bringing information to the board, sort of key decisions option selection by the board would occur roughly in the December-January time period. We're trying to be a little bit flexible with that occurring. The other advantage that we have is, as we're developing options in the feasibility study, we're actually already going through schematic design. We'll roughly be about 50% through schematic design and developing both floor plans for additions and renovations, as well as new construction options, as well as site layouts. What that'll do is allow us to fast track components with option selection by the board when you would move into design. Typically, design is roughly, just off the cuff is a 12-month process. We really see that being about a 10 to 12-month design process. Once the board would make a selection, potentially in January. And so what you would see is January to November design period, 2 months of schematic design. As I mentioned, we'd already be a month or 2 into that process. 4 months of design development and construction documents, and 4 or 5 months. What that does then is puts us in an optimal time period of bidding project next October, November of 2026, and then the ability to approve a project in November or December of 2026, and then construction, whether it be renovation option or a new construction option, of roughly 30 months with the scale of the project that's been discussed. And we reached out to a few contractors to discuss that time period, and not just past experience, but just roughly what they're seeing in the construction market. So all told, at the end of the day, you're looking at roughly about July of 2029. The entire process could be completed with a new building, which would allow that fall semester to move in for a new student body, whether it be renovation or new construction. Again, we had some discussion, could this be tightened up a little bit, whether it be 3 months, 4 months, that is a possibility. But what we're trying to do is meet certain time with a preliminary schedule. Task currently in process. As I mentioned briefly before, we've already begun building surveys, enrollment analysis. We're going to have some slides that we're going to discuss with you this evening, just some preliminary information. We're still very heavily involved in that process, but we're starting to get information back from the municipalities. We have met both administratively and then at the middle school, developing an educational program, both understanding how your facility is being utilized now, what were you looking at in the last 2 years for a potential program, and then how do we develop that into a program that we can implement options. We were also, the administration was very clear that any option that we're looking at, we will also be evaluating the Sports and Learning Center, and that needs to be tied directly into options that we bring forward to you. And then we've also been discussing with K&W Engineers, who's been working with you throughout the campus for your most recent projects. And that brings the ability to, again, fast track or just be very efficient with their time because they've already completed full surveys of your entire campus. So that's sort of some homework that even with vacations through the holidays and summer, we've been able to continue to make some progress even as we get up and running here. As we evolve with the options that we're going to start bringing forward to all of you, some key factors that we wanted to mention this evening. In preliminary discussions we were having, we were looking at your most recent options for the middle school, and what we saw was really the middle school was sort of a one-for-one one-for-one replacement of program in the building, and really what it became was right sizing. So, for instance, whether it be a science classroom, an art classroom, technical education, spaces that had been undersized just because of how you would have designed those programs, say 20 to 40 years ago, adjusting those for the current educational program. But because you were working within an existing building, you really weren't increasing the amount of educational spaces. So we've had some discussions with that and anticipate that we will be looking at potentially some expansion in the options, and we're gonna delineate that very clearly when we present that to all of you, so that you can sort of see that that expansion of the program and allow you to make a decision of how you want to finalize that program with the backup. What we're also going to do is the enrollment information that we're starting to receive. We are seeing, even at this table, from the initial interview, there was a lot of discussions about the housing starts that are occurring. We are initially very, I think we have 5 of the 8 municipalities back now. We are seeing a lot of potential housing starts, but the question is, how fast do those engage? Do they occur over a 5 years, 10 years, 20 years time period? So we're going to be designing the options that they have the ability for additions to occur whenever that expansion would occur, and then we'll also come back to the schedule this evening. What I want to end with is, with all of you, is really sort of encouraging that sort of a roundtable discussion of feedback back and forth, of input as we develop these options. So it's not just a matter of us coming at the end of the study, but presenting information to you periodically and how you want us to adjust that or make the final selection of options. So with that, Dr. Witham is going to join me, and we're going to talk briefly about some of the preliminary enrollment data.
Thank you. Good evening. Fred Witham. I've met most of you before. I just have spent the last several months gathering up all of the baseline data so that we can give an estimate on where you're going from here. I'm showing you this overview slide because there's one thing in particular that I wanted to point out. Esri, which is a business analyst software that really relies on fairly recent census data, is projecting that based on your housing starts, that you're going to see 364 additional homes, residential units, between 2020 and 2030. Like enrollment modeling, they try and project forward based on what was happening in the recent past. So the question then becomes, is what's happening as we move forward the same? If it is more than what was happening in the past, your enrollment projections need to be adjusted up. If you're seeing less than you saw in your past, they need to be adjusted down. And just keep that in mind because as Mr. Straub mentioned, with the superintendent's help, we both reached out within days of each other, requesting data. The superintendent for the support of the municipalities and to get to know those zoning officers and those kinds of things. And the data really started coming back quickly. I'm not shocked that we still have a couple to collect. It's really well within the window of courtesy for them to turn it around. Through this process, there are going to be a couple of things that we're going to have to talk about, and that the board is going to have to make some decisions about. One of the things that is just quick to come up to give you an idea of one of those things is you have 508 homes tentatively approved for Franklin Township. That's tentatively approved. They got preliminary approval. You're going to have to decide if any and how many, if you do, of those homes that you want to include in your enrollment projections so that we can find that balance. We will have some opportunity to look at how fast some of your current developments have been building out over the couple of years. But as of the tally right now, and this is with 5 of the 8 municipalities reporting in, there are 1,065 units that are approved for construction. Not that they're not, or going to all come online at the same time. We're going to have to talk about with the board how you want to spread that out and give you some data on entry rates. But that is considerably more than what the census was looking at your past data projecting forward. So what that tells us is that, yes, it is important that you again go through the exercise, do your enrollment projections, plus an analysis of increased enrollment as a result of increased housing starts. We'll be working through that in the next couple of weeks. Right after the holiday weekend, you'll really be settled in, well with your enrollments for this school year, so that when we bring that back to you, you will see the most up-to-date enrollment projections as of this September. You'll also be given the chance to take a look at those on how well previous enrollment projections done by CRA, PDE, Sunguild, Sundance, whatever that other company is, how they've been performing, and again, give you that gauge, because ultimately we're going to ask you, how big do you want to plan this building? Where do you feel comfortable not over-investing or under-investing in square footage, so that you have the greatest give and take as you go into the next level? How do those projected kids fit into the schedule that Troy runs, and do you have the appropriate number of spaces to do that in the plan?
Let me go back to a couple of components real quick with this. I want to note the superintendent sent emails out initially to all your municipalities. We always like to do that. It really sort of is the district reaching out to your local entities before an outside consultant does, and then we followed up on the 5th of August. The key takeaway there was we reached out to them, just all your municipalities, just 3 weeks ago. So we've heard back from 5 to 8 of them. That's a strong turnout, especially with the vacation time period of the year. So we would anticipate hearing back from the other 3 as well in the coming weeks and having that information to bring forward to you. And then again, at sort of the bottom of the slide, this is the draft format right now. It's really just to show you that work has already begun on gathering the information that will help influence future decisions. A lot of discussions about those housing starts. Probably the takeaway, as I mentioned again, I'm going to keep coming back to these housing starts are projected. So it could be, some people might say 5 or 8 years, but it could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, or we see districts even further out. So what we want to try to do is plan for that growth, be thoughtful of how we do that. So we want to, for instance, have some growth capacity within the options that we present to you. Also look at the core spaces. It's not just the number of classrooms. So what is your capacity of your, whether it be your gymnasiums, your cafeterias, things of that nature, so that if we would add classrooms in the future, that your core spaces could take that growth. And then also, how would we potentially add classrooms on in the future, not just where would they be located, but do your mechanical systems have, are they stubbed out to take those additions, so they could be very efficiently done in the future, whether none of us have a crystal ball, so whether it is 10 years or 20 years, that can be done quickly.
Just one quick add, on those numbers, they do include developments that are shovels in the ground and partially completed, and the numbers are the remaining number of units that are left. It also includes housing units that are approved but are not shovels in the ground yet, but they can get the shovels in the ground and they're ready to go. And then there's one that's preliminary approved that I said, please don't tell us about anything preliminary unless you're pretty sure it's gonna go ahead. And we've got one of those in the mix too. So that's not even to the point where they're ready to mobilize and put shovels in the ground, but they still have to be considered because they will probably be, if they're going to come to fruition, within the time scope of planning and opening this facility. Again, we'll go back and go through all those in detail with you, and you can pick and tease as experts of the community to really get us down to the point where you're getting a good idea of how many kids you want to plan for.
Can I ask you a question about that? Like, have you ever reached out to the developers themselves about schedule? You know, you said about asking the board our opinion. Well, I would think the developer at least has an idea. You know what I mean? Like, there's 200 townhomes in one plan. You know, maybe I would think they'd be willing to share at least what their thoughts were on the rollout of that. They help us.
Typically, they are. Often they're not, just because if they're anticipating any kind of legal maneuvering, they kind of stick to the goals that they presented and got approved, and they're phasing, and they don't really want to talk publicly about anything else.
What they presented publicly then would still be more educated probably than.
Well, we have that information. We asked from the township supervisors, when are these phased, when is the estimated completion, how many units are done to date. So we've got all that. I think it's more sometimes in the conversations with people who are a little bit more in the know of what's going on in the ground and what's going on in paper. And maybe if you guys don't know, you probably still have some of the one-on-one connections with some of the people that you can have those sidebar conversations, get yourselves a really good gauge of, do we include these 500 townhouses, or do we just push them off? Know that they might come, but not during the next 10 or 15 years.
So let's talk about this at a little bit high level. It's not that we're going to know exactly what's going to occur in the next 5 or 10 years, but it's about creating a roadmap of is there growth occurring or not, and should we plan for that? And again, it's how do we set up the options and also building to take growth in the future. If it the obviously we may see some districts that are shrinking in size or very stable, or there's no ability for growth because it's a full build out. That's not the case in this scenario. Probably one of the takeaways is from updating the study now from, I think the Sundance data was from 21, 22. They were only seeing about half of the housing starts that we're seeing right now, and we still have 3 townships still to talk to, and those 3 may not have any expansion or planned, but already we're seeing double that. So we want to be thoughtful for that as we present that to all of you. And we need to be careful. This could be a rabbit hole. Housing starts are something that we could spend 6 months, or I've seen districts spend 6 months or a year talking about it, and really at that end of that time not have a full answer. We just sort of want to use that as data for our planning purposes, so that you can make the best educated decision on an option selection, and then take that out to your constituents of how you present that data. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the schedule, the enrollment data, and sort of on the track 1 for the feasibility study. We're going to be looking at, and this is just an excerpt from one of the previous floor plans for your elementary schools, and just across the board, we're going to be looking at the sites, the exterior of the building, all your interior elements, your mechanical, electrical, plumbing throughout each of your facilities. We're going to look at facilities condition index for each of those categories. And then ultimately, we will be tying that into cost data for each of the components. And preliminary meeting with the district, what they had asked was that we do that independently from what the district is already looking at or planning. The advantage is the district has done, and all of you are aware, you've done quite a lot, especially in the last 5 years with your other buildings. So you're not staring at not only, for instance, a middle school and the sports and learning center that needs to be addressed, but you don't have any other really large concerns some districts do not have that advantage that they're trying to do with a large, say, middle school, but then they also might have 2 or 3 elementary schools that are in dire straits. You are not in that scenario. It's more about how do you continue to maintain your facilities. The goal is when we get to the end of these condition indexes that then we will come together with the district and marry that with your current 5 to 10 year plans, and sort of share that data back and forth and then have a unified plan that sort of strengthens what you were already doing for the district. Northern Middle School, again, this is just looking generally at the floor plans for your current building. We validated this with Troy, your principal, and then sat down with him looking at the program that you had recently developed, and then a discussion of how do we take this and then start to develop the program that we'll implement over the next couple of months and present options coming forward to you, and then developing an understanding how are your teams working together, how do you see those plan to expand in a future option, whether it be in additions, renovations, or a new construction option. With that, we wanted to come full circle to the schedule this evening and really open this up for questions that all of you would have.
Just if I could input it, for any questions, if we could just keep them to the presentation. We are going to have specific discussion points built in the next couple months on specific items that will come to us. But tonight, if we could just keep it to the presentation and questions regarding that. Knocked it out of the park.
Well, with that, thank you, and we'll be coming back in the next few months. Okay. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, we'll move on to business manager's report. Mr. Young.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Before I get to the payment of bills, I do want to just bring up 2 individuals within my departments. One, those of us that heard Dr. Meekin speak on Friday, a big part of his presentation was about telling our story, and I think I'm going to take some time here to help tell the story of some individuals within my department that have been instrumental here to get the season or to get the school year started. One of them is Deanna Shedlock. She's our payroll accountant. When you see all these changes on our personnel agenda, that runs through my business office and has dramatic effects on salary changes, and there's a lot that goes into our payroll that gets run every other week. So she has had not just this year, but every year, a lot on her plate to get this year started. So I wanted to publicly just bring her to the board as someone that is a superstar employee for us. Just give her some recognition. The other one that I want to recognize is our transportation director, Lynn Wicker, somebody that again works very, very hard behind the scenes. You don't hear about transportation issues because of her and our team. She works extremely hard to make sure things run very smoothly here. If anybody's been paying attention to districts around us, there are dramatic transportation issues in other school districts right now, and we don't have those. And I have to give Lynn the kudos for that. We have an extremely well-run transportation department, and I also want to thank the board for allowing us to change the one job description and hiring Jen Jones to give that department some support that has been much needed for many years. So I just wanted to recognize there's 2 people, again, 2 people that you never see in a board meeting, but are instrumental in making sure we are a successful school district. So with that, I'd ask that the following checks be approved for payment. General fund manual checks dated August 1st, 2025, and August 31st, 2025 for check 341862, check 341979, and check 341981, to check 342046 in the amount of $2,010,461.18. 2024 construction fund checks dated July 9th, 2025 for check 1021 and 1022 in the amount of $131,677.73. Food service account checks dated August 5th to August 26th, 2025 for check 9385, check 9395 in the amount of $36,358.48. And student activity account checks dated July 9th, 2025 for check 1136 and check 1137 in the amount of $850.
Mr. President, I move to pay those bills.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I ask for the following checks to be approved for payment. General fund check 341980 dated July 18th, 2025 in the amount of $750 made payable to McClure Company Incorporated.
Mr. President, I move to pay that bill.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, I'll respectfully abstain because I am an employee of McClure Company.
Noted, and thank you. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I ask for acceptance of the August 2025 Treasurer's Report.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
And lastly, Mr. President, including the background reports of various accounts for the board's review.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And just to follow up on what Mr. Young said, thank you for all your work with that department. So does not go unnoticed. With that, move on to curriculum, Mr. Becker.
Okay, Mr. Kyle. Yeah, in the curriculum agenda, there are 7 multiple day conferences. 1 through 7. Questions or thoughts? But we're moving to approve those all by consent. Questions?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Athletics and activities, Mr. Schwilling.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. We'd like consent for athletics and activities, letter A's, numbers 1 through 7.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Budget and finance, Mr. Rudy thought he was getting off on a late night, but not the case. Building and grounds, Mr. Gunning.
Yes, Mr. President, I move to approve by consent item A, the building and grounds.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Policy, Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. President, I move to approve by consent items A, 1 through 5, and B.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Nothing for board operations and personnel since Ms. Bourdain is out. Mr. Shirley's going to take that one.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move by consent of personnel, items A through U, and then on the addendum, items A, L, M, O, Q, V.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Can I make a brief comment on item Q, on substitutes? Mr. Shirley had raised a question at the last board meeting, and I was gonna answer it in executive session, but I don't think we'll be able to tonight. So, you raised a question regarding the substitute for the business office. That was in Plan B, with Christine being out for surgery. If she was out longer than we thought that she was going to be, then we might need somebody to come in. And that wasn't required, and hence it is removed.
Thank you.
All right, so items for board action. Mr. Rudy did not get the night off, so.
Mr. President, I move to approve the extended school year educational service agreement with the Vista School for 1 student for EUSI 2025.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I would move to approve the educational services agreement with the Vista School, the district's classroom agreement for the 2025-2026 regular school year.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the addendum to the Hoffman Academy agreement
discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I also move to approve the addendum to the Hoffman Academy agreement for one this.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the education service contract with Icon Youth Services for the 25-26 school year.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the academic services agreement with Yellow Breaches Educational Center Incorporated for 3 student placements for the 25-26 regular school year.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the academic services agreement with River Rock Academy for 3 student placements for the 25-26 regular school year.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
President, I move to approve the alternative education for disruptive youth agreement with River Rock Academy LLC for the 2025-2026 school year.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the agreement for supported employment services with Keystone Health Services Incorporated for the 25-26 school year.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
President, I move to approve the contract with Clear Path Pediatric Therapy LLC for speech and language pathology services for the 25-26 school year.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the memorandum of understanding with Valley Youth House for the 25-26 school year.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the agreement with Central Penn Education Associates Incorporated for psychoeducational evaluations for the 25-26 school year.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the architect agreement with Crabtree Rorball and Associates for a district-wide feasibility study.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve HT Lions to complete the testing, adjusting, and balancing services for the North Elementary School project.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the change order number 2 for Livermore Incorporated for the Northern Elementary School project.
Any discussion? Jason, is that right? There's only been 2 change orders?
Yeah.
That's awesome. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the service agreement with KBS Waste Solutions for waste removal services.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I would move to approve the resolution authorizing and directing Dr. Matthew Meekin to sign any and all contracts, agreements, grants, and or licenses with the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
Any discussion?
For the public, this is not anything out of the ordinary. I've done this with every superintendent in the past, so this is.
Thank you very much. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to approve the superintendent goals for the 25-26 school year.
Any discussion? And correct me, Dr. Meekin, those will be posted on the website.
Yes, they'll be posted on the district website.
Awesome. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. All right, recognition of the public. Everyone knows how to do that, but as a reminder, it's limited to residents of the school district. Citizens' comments, questions are welcome with a limit of 5 minutes per presenter. Questions and comments concerning individual staff members, students, or your own children's problems will not be addressed in the public meeting. Will be given consideration by the board. However, the board may choose to not provide a response on your issue this evening. And so, first one we have is Mr. Decker regarding the transition coordinator.
thank you everybody, I appreciate it. You heard from me in May about transition coordinating services, so I put together a piece to express my comments. So at the base, Barry Decker, 30 Pheasant Ridge Road, sorry. At the May School Board meeting, myself and other parents voiced our concerns regarding the lack of transitional services for those students in the special education program. President Kyle let me know on May 27th that the school board asked the administration to take the lead and bring some of their recommendations to our future meeting. In June, my family and I went on vacation during the June school board meetings. We were not contacted during this time by the administration or the school board to elaborate on our presentation or concerns. I reached out in July in preparation of the July school board meeting to ask President Kyle if there was any update or discussion of our request, since I had not heard anything or could not find on the district's website any minutes or agenda item about transitional services. President Kyle responded to me to let me know that it was not something on the agenda for that evening. He forwarded my email to Dr. Meakin to bring up to speed on what was discussed. The next day I received an email from Dr. Meakin informing me of an update. Quotes, Dr. Burrell presented to the school board at the June committee meeting. The presentation was titled Transition Services and included an explanation of the goal of services and the progression of PACE services pathways to academic and career excellence. Next, the history of the job coach coordinator position was reviewed. The benefits of the current model were outlined, as well as some areas that need careful examination and growth. These areas are shared concerns: communication to families, targeted staff professional development, expansion of CBI, which is community-based instruction opportunities, and individual student planning. The recommendation was to continue to provide services as currently structured without the addition of a job coach transition coordinator. This summer, we focused on the identified areas of shared concern in preparation for a successful year, school year, end quote. Upon hearing this information, I requested from Dr. Meakin an opportunity for my wife and I to sit down with him and discuss the decision and how this would impact our son Braden and his ability to succeed. We met on August 11th, and Dr. Meakin listened to me, explained why I'm so frustrated in this whole process, and why I believe at this present time Braden is not set up to succeed, and requested for an opportunity for the administration to sit down with us, parents, and explain how our request of a transition coordinator can be done by the present teacher and support administration staff. I hope that request will be fulfilled. In preparation of my comments for this evening, I found a presentation that Dr. Meakin spoke, in which Dr. Burrell provided to the school board. This was the first time that I have seen anything to try and explain the services and progression of what they expect to see. I do not know if it has always been or something that they hope works. The presentation did not address the following: establishing relationships with outside agencies, vacation rehab agency service providers, building long-term relationships with employers and community organizations, advocating for needed changes in school or district transition programs, and coordinating both on and off-campus employment opportunities for current students. I'm so disappointed in the lack of communication, once again, that the school board and the school administration has had with me and other parents. We presented our concerns and it was silent until I reached out in July for an update. The update is not very informative or reassuring. The presentation by Dr. Burrell was not shared with us, nor do I have any sense today if the administration will reach out to us to better explain how the needs of our students with special education or special needs will be addressed. My wife and I had an opportunity to meet with a new teacher for the PACE classroom in the high school only after we requested an IEP meeting. We learned during this time that there will be another teacher to help with transition services, something that did not appear to be present last year. I only ask that you keep us parents involved in the process and do a better job of communicating with us as a partner in the process and not as an adversary. What are we teaching our children? Okay, just remember, treat others as you want to be treated. Thank you for allowing me this time to speak to you. I look forward to a presentation by the school administration and the school board's attention to the services that are provided to our students with special needs.
Thank you very much. All right, Meg Riley, in regards to the live streaming of board meetings.
Good evening, my name is Meg Riley, and I would like to speak to an item that was on last week's committee meeting agenda under the Board Operations Committee. A proposal was presented regarding live streaming of school board meetings. Mr. Labuda presented background information, timeline for implementation, reviewed the issue through a legal lens in regard to school code and school policy, and through a technology lens in regard to implementation. I would like to thank the school board for moving in this direction and considering implementing the practice of live streaming both committee and school board meetings. Whenever there's an opportunity to inform and educate the public at large, and more specifically its residents, this indicates that the school board's priority is to communicate openly and a willingness to partner with all stakeholders, our students, faculty, staff, administration, and community members. This can lead to fostering and enhancing trust and partnership among all stakeholders and the school board. I would like to speak to the recommendation made in the proposal regarding archiving of meetings. It was not recommended that meetings be archived. While there may be no requirement for meetings to be archived, I feel it would be best practice if both the committee and school board meetings were archived. Archiving recorded meetings will provide the viewer to become better informed and educated on decisions, actions, and policies of the board. Live streamed meetings allow for the viewer to hear the discussions, questions, and presentations of participants that cannot be captured in official board minutes. To not archive these meetings will not provide stakeholders the opportunity to become better informed citizens. It will defeat the purpose of live streaming to inform and partner with the larger school community through open communication and transparency. The full effect and purpose of live streaming will be lost if meetings are not archived. Lastly, I would like to publicly recognize the excellent work of the central office and building level administrators. At every turn when the school board has asked the administration to bring back answers, to develop new proposals to address all questions and concerns, the administration has done so with great professionalism, thoroughness, and always in a timely manner under the leadership of our former superintendent. I look forward to seeing what the administration will continue to do under the new leadership of Dr. Meekin. Your administrators from the central office to the building level are to be commended. They continue to meet the challenges of this board, and I believe will continue to work for what is in the best interest of our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last one, Galen Cap in regards to live streaming.
They stole some of what I was going to say, so this will be briefer than usual. I too support the archiving, specifically for the process we're going through with whatever the next middle school project looks like. I think that if we archived all, I mean, you guys can decide how long you want to archive for. I've been looking, some districts archive all the way back to COVID, some seem to be cutting off at, only having 2 or 3 years. That's entirely your purview. I would encourage archiving for at least a few years while we work through this middle school project, because that way more of that information can get out to the public like in full, rather than just, oh, I heard this at the meeting. And that way, if someone has questions or concerns, you as a board or us as the general public can say, well, go back and watch the video because I think you've got it wrong. If we can keep the public informed about this project and get people on board with the project, because whatever you guys come up with next, this is my broken record, this thing's gotta stick. The next one's gotta be it, whatever it is. So if we can get people on board, please archive those meetings. As far as the middle school, a little tangent, I was at the middle school back to school night this week, and I just want to thank the board for making that decision to spend that couple $100,000 on some of those touch-up repairs. Yeah, it's a Band-Aid, but there were the 2 most popular or most common questions that I heard walking my daughter around the hallway. 1, of course, oh, how was your summer? But 2, did you see the bathrooms? So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Any items for future agendas? in favor? Aye. Motion carries. The next school board meetings, our committee meeting is September 16th, and our regular school board meeting is September 23rd. So thank you for coming.